There's a huge difference between America and Canada. America's patriotism stems from being proud to be American, rightfully so. Largest economy in the world, biggest superpower in the world, freedom of expression, freedom of speech, everything is in America. They called it the American dream for a reason, which has never been more true than right now. Canada's patriotism stems from proud to not be American because Canadians generally view themselves better as Americans. It's disgusting. It's vile. It's a part of Canadian culture. And I'm trying to wake people up from this mentality. And we see it all the time. It bleeds into our parliament. Even people on the right, people from the Conservative Party, sometimes it slips up their views on this. But we're not here to talk about that. What we are here to talk about is the fact that America saved Canada's butt yet again by sending fighter jets to Canada because there was a bomb threat that took place at the Calgary airport, which we're going to be starting off with. And then we're going to take a look at Trump completely obliterating a news reporter over what she thought was a gotcha question. And it turned out to be not that. So before we get into it, all I ask is for you guys to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So this right here is a pretty interesting story. This is the second time now in the past couple of months that something like this has happened. 3 flights landing in Calgary this week were targeted with bomb threats. Here's how this was handled. Now, of course, the bomb threats is not something that happens very often in Canada. But the second time that this has happened in a few matter of months is the fact that Canada wasn't actually the ones that were able to fully respond to the situation, right? NORAD scrambled fighter jets over Calgary on Monday in response to the threats. It was America. I don't know why they said NORAD. It was America that scrambled jets. Oh my goodness. A CF-18 and an F-15 and a refueling tanker aren't typical sights in the skies over a city like Calgary. Many local residents immediately took notice of unusual activity on Monday afternoon, sharing photos and videos of social media and military jets roaring over the city. Later, North American Aerospace, or NORAD, confirmed that it had responded to reports of bomb threats and 3 commercial passenger flights from Germany bound for the Calgary International Airport. It's kind of scary, man. Military aircraft scrambled to escort the planes safely to their destination, with NORAD confirming to CBC News that the planes landed without incident after the threats were determined to be not credible. So how exactly does American military aircraft respond so quickly to a security threat in Canada? The director of the University of Calgary Center for Military Security and Strategic Studies said that NORAD's response was well practiced, well developed, and a significant result of a cooperation between Canada and the United States dating back to the Cold War. In other words, America is just so much better at getting stuff done than what Canada ever could be. So America got it done when Canada couldn't. That's what that basically means, right? We don't have the ability to respond to even our own domestic threats or potential threats, that we rely on America to do that. And then they're quoting back in September of 1957, Canada and the United States agreed to do NORAD. So this is, again, like the elbows up crowd is like, yeah, Canada needs to stand on its own 2 feet, but we can't even have our own jets take a look at what's going on in Vancouver, which happened a couple months ago, right? Where there was somebody that stole a plane from Victoria, hopped over the little ocean, little channel there, went to the Vancouver airport and was like, whoa, what the heck's going on? And our own military, our own forces weren't able to assess the situation. It was American fighter jets that flew over. Are they sending us the bill for that? Is that something that we're paying, or is that something that they're paying for? And the same thing now with Calgary. Now, it turns out these threats weren't necessarily, or they weren't credible, so nothing happened, thankfully. But it's just showing that Canada relies so much on America again, right? This is what when Trump says, and we've subsidized Canada to the tune of $200 billion a year. A lot of that involves security protection, stuff like this, right? Okay, yeah, this wasn't a big operation, but it was probably hundreds of thousands or several million in fuel and in resources that America had to spend to come and take a look at what we failed to look at, right? Kind of weird.
These jets flying over Calgary Monday were deployed by NORAD out of an abundance of caution in response to a bomb threat. The incident fueled curiosity online.
Well, listen, there was an incident yesterday involving 3 commercial aircraft. What it indicates, I think, for us, what it should indicate for Canadians, is that NORAD did its job, and it did it very, very well. Fighter jets were scrambled. There was a bomb threat, I understand. The RCMP is now in charge of the file.
The minister didn't elaborate on the nature of those threats, but told reporters he's unaware of any other threat to any other Canadian aircraft. Here's what we know. 3 planes from Germany landed without incident at the Calgary International Airport. Germany-based Condor Airlines wrote in a statement, a security alert was issued for its September 15th flight. It was analyzed by experts and relevant authorities. When the plane landed in Calgary, there was a comprehensive safety check, adding, at no time was there a danger to their guests or crew, and NORAD determined the threats weren't credible. One expert says it's up to NORAD to ensure the safety of airspace and those passengers.
If we have a threat against 3 airplanes, all of which are originating in the same country with a similar destination in North America, and you place that in a context, you would take that threat very seriously.
Lloyd Precht says this incident serves as a reminder.
This is one very concrete manifestation. It is a manifestation why Canada needs a robust national security posture, and why, for instance, it is important for Canada to invest in assets such as military aircraft and fighter jets.
CBC.
No, this is why Canada needs a bunch of joint military bases with America so that they can respond to these issues better and quicker, and it would be directly from our soil, right? Like, that's how this is done. There's a weird misconception that we can just always rely on America to come and solve these problems. The worst case is that there would have been a real bomb threat that would have turned into not a threat, but an attack. And America just would have said, well, how about you guys take a look after yourselves for once? And then boom, something happens. That's worst case, right? We luckily got the best case where the threats weren't credible, and it was America that was able to respond quicker than whatever we have the ability, or I guess we're finding out we don't even have the ability to do, right? Well, yeah. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments about that one. We're going to take a look at what's going on in America, because America is laying down the law, specifically around hatred towards Charlie Kirk. Trump's threat to target radical left after Kirk's killing raises fears that apparently he's trying to silence foes. So the left is not seeing a difference between cancel culture, which is something silly or stupid that you said 10 years ago, to literally people that are glorifying the assassination of Charlie Kirk. U.S. President Trump is escalating threats to crack down on what he describes as the radical left following Charlie Kirk's assassination, stirring fears that his administration is trying to harness outrage over the killing to suppress political opponents. Interesting. Without establishing any link to last week's shooting, the Republican president and members of his administration have discussed classifying some groups as domestic terrorists. So that would be in regards to Antifa, right? He wants Antifa to be a domestic terrorist group, which honestly is something Canada should consider doing as well. The radical left has done tremendous damage to the country, Trump told reporters. But we're fixing it, he says. And this is how messed up things are in America right now, right? Chief Warrant Officer 2 in a response to Charlie Kirk's murder. Those kids are lucky they no longer have to be raised by Charlie Kirk. This is what a U.S. military serviceman said on Facebook. It looks like. That's absurd. That's absurd, right? And then we got to take a look at what's going on mainstream brain rot, CNN, right?
Scott just got all angry, got real mad. Face it, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be this. Why can't we have a discussion about how long is it going to take for us to figure out a way to come back together?
Just to be clear, I am angry.
Can we just let him finish his thought, Scott? I'll let you talk.
I knew it.
Scott, I'll let you talk in just a second. Go ahead.
could we spend as much time figuring out how we bridge this and come back together again? You know, I used to have a note on my producer's desk when I did my show that was said, we don't belabor what happens, we try to figure out why it happens and come up with solutions. Right now, all we're doing is belaboring what happened over and over and over and over again. We're not going to sit down and try to figure out how do we stop it. If we want to stop,
got to go after left-wing terrorists.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly the conversation we're having, is we're acknowledging there's a problem.
So anybody who disagrees with you is a left-wing terrorist?
Absolutely not, but if they target a conservative and murder him in brutal fashion, he's probably a left-wing terrorist.
Let me answer your question.
Yes, that person is a murderer. We can all acknowledge that.
You said I am angry, and I'm just telling. I am channeling the emotion.
This is something that Canada fails to do as well. Canada has so many entities that glorify. Like, have you ever heard that Canada's a harbor for terrorists, right? Because that holds a lot of truth. Canada doesn't care about people that are burning the flags, the Canadian flags in the country. They don't care about hate speech to Canada or even Canadians. Canada's priorities are all backwards. It's weird. Canada's a progressive cesspool, and some of that bleeds into America, right? Of course, with the Democrats.
Of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican voice who talked about issues that millions of Americans believe. He also talked about his faith. And he did it by going to college campuses, which are not normally hospitable to conservatives, and offering his opponents a microphone to have what we always say.
In support of what? In support of what?
Civil discourse.
Not only that, but support of the First Amendment.
And guess what?
He made sure that people had an opportunity to stand in a room and talk.
He was murdered trying to do what we always say. Why don't we talk to each other? So yes, it's not even been a week. So you're going to have to give us a little grace on being angry about somebody who did what you always say that we should do. Let's talk.
We didn't
and he
get
got
much
killed.
grace over.
And he got
more
killed.
than a week's grace over two Michigan elected officials who were murdered. Did we give? Was it 3 weeks before we decided to say that there was something wrong with Speaker Pelosi's husband being hit in the head with a hammer?
By a homeless drug addict? I mean, it was terrible that happened. This is not the same kind of case. This is according to the local officials, as Ellie just told us, a clear political motivation of a guy that a lot of us held dear, that a lot of us considered to be somebody who a mainstream voice. He was not an extremist. He was a mainstream voice.
Pelosi's attacker may have been mentally ill, but he was also politically motivated.
Oh my goodness, man. The parallels that these people try to draw is insane. So it's interesting that guy brought up on CNN, one of the hosts, right, said, well, what about these other Democrats that got politically, attacked? Well, that was actually brought up to President Trump in the Oval Room. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk. Mr. President, on Charlie Kirk. In retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing...
Wow. What a phenomenal answer. But of course, it's not enough, right? Oh, no, that's not true. That's not true. They're thinking we got to keep hitting them harder, right? There's no way that Trump could be such a nice person like that. All you had to do is ask. I don't believe it.
Of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be...
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country.
And you're seeing that they do hate the country. They do. The radical left in America hates America. The radical left in Canada hates Canada and Canadians. And we're seeing this time and time and time again. Yet the left keeps propping this ideology up and they keep promoting it as if it's something good. But all that's changing. At least in America, it's changing. I don't know if it's ever going to change in Canada because it's a progressive cesspool. But in America, Trump is taking big action.
Yes. Given with all the that's going on, Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%. And others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can make up?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it.
Yeah. I mean, this is what leadership is. Standing up for your people, standing up against the craziness that exists in your country and bringing patriotism back. And unfortunately, in Canada, patriotism means proud not to be an American. In America, patriotism means proud to be American. So very different cultures, and we're seeing the patriotism rise more in America. And unfortunately, the whole anti-American, sentiment of which kind of makes up Canadian identity is also rising in Canada because of the left-wing leadership. It's gross. It's gross. I hate what's happening in Canada, and I'm liking to see the action that's happening in America. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think I'm an American born in a Canadian's body, but let me know what you guys think down below in the comments.